going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me for another video where today going to be the topic of the day here, which seems to be Chris Ballard. People talking about some of the guys that Chris Ballard had to cut yesterday and talking about how bad the 2024 draft is because of it. And I think that's kind of ridiculous when you look at how many draft picks the Colts came out of that draft with. We ended up with 9 picks. They end up cutting the last 3. I think that's reasonable, and I think there's a good chance 2 of these guys end up back on the practice squad, right? And we'll talk about that later, or maybe tomorrow about practice squad and who I think is going to make it onto the practice squad. But when you look at the 2024 draft, I think people are being ridiculous, right? There was this tweet here from ML Football that ended up coming out today, historically bad. And then there's an article that I believe was Sports Illustrated. No, I'm sorry. It's a Bleacher Report put out an article about the same subject about, Chris Ballard releasing 3 of his 2024 draft picks. We had 9. And when you look at the first 6, in the future, they might, some of them are going to make immediate impacts. Some of them are future kind of draft picks, right? Micah Savez, Tanner Bortolini, and then obviously when you look at Jaylin Carlies, we'll see what happens with him this year. But a lot of these guys are going to produce right away. A lot of these guys expected to be very good. Laulu coming in pro ready as any NFL player in the last few years. A.D. Mitchell coming in. Obviously has to fine-tune some things and has to keep working with Reggie on becoming great. But AD expected to be pretty great right away. Anthony Gould has value right away. When you look at Micah Savez, Tanner Bortolini, they are great depth for us right now. And again, going to be the future at their positions for the Colts and to be the core around Anthony Richardson going into the future. And then going down, obviously Jaylin Carlies without Ronnie Harrison here. It looks like he could be filling a spot on the defense right away, so could be an immediate impact guy. And again, Jaylin Simpson could come back, end up on the practice squad. I think Micah Abraham, hopefully we get him back on the practice squad and he can be the future at his position whenever it is Kenny decides he's done, or if the Colts feel like Kenny has plenty of time left, and hey, maybe they just let Micah Abraham go somewhere else and find an opportunity. But I hope we get him back to keep him part of the, at least put him on the practice squad, have him part of the DB rotation if we needed him. Jonah Laulu, I don't know. I mean, he's a 7th round pick. I feel like a lot of 7th round picks probably get dropped. That's probably the way that goes. That's why they're a 7th round pick. So people seem up in arms about it. I saw it yesterday on Twitter when I was going around on Twitter and people talking about, what is Chris Ballard doing? This 2024 draft, like how is he going to drop 3 of his draft picks? He just got these guys. So I just think, at some point you've watched enough film on him. You've seen him in practice. You got to see him in 3 preseason games. Like, if you think you need to not have him on the 53-man roster, I think that's reasonable. And I think that's what we talked about here on this channel, is that they were going to have to make difficult decisions as we tried to trim the roster down to 53. We were live on the channel doing that, trying to trim the roster down to 53 guys. There's some hard decisions that had to be made. Micah Abraham and Jaylin Simpson made sense that they weren't going to be on the 53-man roster. Again, it would make sense for them to be on the practice squad, so that's what I think we're probably going to do. I think there's been quite the overreaction. I think when we look back at it, 2023, obviously because of Anthony Richardson, but then this 2024 draft going to be one of the more impactful and important drafts for the Anthony Richardson era. The guys that we're getting out of here, the guys that are pro ready, the guys that we can develop with the coaching staff that we have that I trust to be able to develop. Like, I just think this 2024 draft going to end up being really good. Out of the 9 draft picks, we could end up using 8 of these guys in the future. All right, by the time it's all said and done. So I think, just like anything else, seems like a bit of an overreaction by everybody. So I think if you're one of those people, pump the brakes. I think we did really good in this draft. You look at, again, guys that are going to be impactful right away and guys that are going to be able to help us in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, get a chance to develop them, get them, familiar with the systems that we're running, whether it's offensively or defensively. Like, these guys are going to be able to help us, just like 2023 class, right, where you were losing more and more of the 2023 class, right? Evan Hull goes out, Darius Rush, was out the door quick, but we had like 11 or 12 picks last year. So I just think with the young talent that we have, as long as these guys stay healthy, they're going to be able to help us out. As long as they're here in the future, I think they're going to be able to help us out. I think Chris Ballard and his guys have done well drafting. It's just a matter of keeping guys on the field to be able to prove that fact. Okay, so you let me know what your opinion is of all this. Are you somebody that thinks that, Chris Ballard cutting 3 of his guys is a big deal or not? You let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section, of course. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. Again, we're going to be talking about who I think is going to come back to the practice squad and what all that entails. So make sure you get notified for that or any other content coming out on this channel. Of course, appreciate you stopping by for another video. As always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.